When we usually talk about this whole concept of grounding yourself, there's always this built-in expectation of it being gentle.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Right, like it's almost pastoral. You take off your shoes, you walk barefoot on some soft green grass, you take a deep breath, and you're just suddenly, I don't know, magically connected to the earth.
Right. It's supposed to be this very light, breezy, totally effortless experience. You hear the birds singing, and the stress just kind of melts away.
Exactly, it's a very peaceful image. But then you look at the sheer amount of chaos in the modern world right now.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot.
It is. The constant digital overload we are all facing, the endless news cycles, that collective anxiety that just hangs in the air, and
Yeah.
suddenly just sitting quietly on the grass doesn't really cut it anymore. I mean, if you're navigating a torrential Category 5 storm, you don't need a gentle breeze. You need a heavy-duty anchor.
You need something engineered for structural containment, basically. You need something that was forged under intense pressure because, well, it was specifically designed by nature to handle intense pressure.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because this deep dive into our sources today is not just about looking at a pretty rock.
No, definitely not.
We are exploring the really dense, multidimensional, and honestly, highly fascinating world of a mineral called Galaxite.
Yeah, Galaxite.
And for anyone listening right now who feels completely overwhelmed by the absolute chaos of modern life, this is going to provide you with a completely new perspective on what it actually means to ground yourself.
It really is a massive paradigm shift, and we have a really fascinating stack of materials for this today.
We do.
On one hand, we are drawing from this highly detailed, fairly esoteric text simply titled Metaphysical Healing Properties of Galaxite.
Right.
But to keep us rooted, we are actively cross-referencing that text with the pragmatic day-to-day field notes of a crystal practitioner known as Crystals by Rob.
I love that we have that balance. It's the perfect mix of the deep theory and the actual, boots on the ground application.
Exactly.
So to really understand how this stone functions for the human mind and spirit, we have to start with how it was physically forged in the earth. Because our sources make it really clear that you cannot separate the mythology from the geology.
You really can't. The physical structure of Galaxite dictates exactly how it behaves energetically.
Right.
So, geologically speaking, Galaxite belongs to the feldspar group. But more specifically, it's a microcrystalline microlabradorite.
Okay. Microcrystalline microlabradorite. That's a mouthful.
It really is.
For those of us who aren't geologists, what does that actually mean when you're holding it in your hand?
Fair question.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at standard labradorite, you see these big flashy sheets of color that sort of roll across the surface.
Yeah, that classic blue and green flash.
Exactly. But Galaxite doesn't do that. It has this very dark, midnight black or deep charcoal base, what geologists call a dark microcline matrix. But suspended inside that deep darkness are millions of dense micro-inclusions of magnetite and ilmenite.
So these are like tiny metallic flecks trapped inside the dark stone.
Precisely.
Huh.
And they are microscopic, they're needle-like and tabular in shape. So when light hits the surface of Galaxite, those millions of tiny inclusions refract the light all at the exact same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it creates this stunning visual phenomenon known as labradorescence or Schiller.
Which gives it that really specific look. So it's not like standard labradorite with those broad, flashy sheets. It's literally like looking at a midnight sky just full of stars.
Exactly. It looks like an entire galaxy suspended in the darkness, which, is how it gets its name.
That makes total sense then, that ancient traditions, according to the text anyway, believed these were literally star-seeded stones.
Yeah.
Like they thought they were created when meteor showers hit the earth.
What's fascinating here is how that exact physical structure translates directly into its historical lore. Well, because it looked so different from standard labradorite, it occupied a totally different mystical position. Like, standard labradorite was revered in Inuit legends as the frozen fire of the northern lights.
Right.
But Galaxite was used by ancient tribal shamans as night vision shields.
Wait, night vision shields, how did that work?
So, the shamans believed that when a seeker's soul had to travel through the darkest, the most terrifying voids of the astral realm, the dark matrix of the stone would camouflage them.
Oh, that's wild. So it hid them.
Exactly. And meanwhile, those iridescent starry flecks acted as internal navigational beacons to help their soul find its way back to the physical body.
That is incredibly vivid. And the text notes, it wasn't just ancient shamans either.
No, it wasn't.
In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, ceremonial magicians actually highly prized it. They called it the Astraea stone, after the Greek star goddess of innocence.
Right, Astraea.
They apparently used its light-refracting matrix to scry into future timelines and to block out chaotic astral static during their rituals.
Yeah, the magicians totally recognized its ability to filter out noise.
But let me just pause you there because
Yeah.
I want to make sure we are keeping this practical for you, the listener.
Of course.
For someone listening right now who, isn't a 19th century ceremonial magician and who has zero interest in astral travel, how does a stone that blocks astral static help them when they're just trying to get through a stressful Tuesday morning commute?
That is the perfect question, and the answer goes right back to the geology we were just talking about.
Okay.
On the Mohs hardness scale, Galaxite rates between a 6.0 and a 6.5.
So it's fairly tough.
It's tough, but it's not just hard. Its internal framework is made of tightly interwoven microcrystals.
Meaning it doesn't shatter easily.
Exactly. It doesn't have large brittle plates that break. It possesses exceptional structural toughness.
So it's incredibly dense and tightly packed together.
Exactly. And metaphysically, this long geological synthesis of intense pressure and heat translates directly into the concept of structural containment.
Structural containment, meaning like it holds things in place when the pressure gets high.
Yes, it acts as an archetype for pulling vast high-voltage cosmic consciousness, or even just high-stress mental energy, down into the physical body.
So it grounds the chaos.
It organizes internal chaos. It doesn't let you fly off the handle, and it definitely doesn't let you use spirituality to escape reality. It contains you.
Okay, so if it is this master of structural containment that perfectly explains how it tackles the incredibly messy, turbulent landscape of human emotions.
Yes, it really does.
Because our sources describe Galaxite as a non-invasive excavator of the emotional body. It targets what the text calls emotional calcification.
That's a really profound concept to explore, actually. Think about how we usually process trauma.
We usually just ignore it.
Right. When we experience old heartbreaks, sudden betrayals, or severe childhood trauma, our instinct is to push it down into the subconscious to protect ourselves.
We build up this armor.
We do. But over time, that emotional armor hardens. It basically calcifies. It turns into this dense, inflexible swamp of unexpressed grief and anxiety that really limits how we live our lives.
Right, and the text says Galaxite acts as a solvent for those calcified edges. It softens those long-held grudges.
Exactly.
And when you work with it, long-buried memories and unshed tears are going to rise to the surface so they can finally be consciously processed. But wait, I do have to push back here for a second.
Go ahead.
If this stone is aggressively excavating long-buried trauma, forcing you to confront all these unshed tears and old betrayals, wouldn't that just cause a massive emotional breakdown?
I mean, it sounds like it would.
Right. If I'm holding this stone, why wouldn't I just, fall apart in the middle of a grocery store from the sheer weight of it all?
It is a completely logical concern. If you're bringing up trauma, there is always a real risk of re-traumatization.
Exactly.
But the text clarifies the actual mechanics of how the stone prevents exactly that. The dual nature of Galaxite is the key here.
You mean the dark matrix and the starry flecks?
Precisely. That deep, dark charcoal matrix provides an immediate, heavy grounding container.
Oh, so it catches you.
Yes, it acts like a spiritual lightning rod. It absorbs the frantic frequencies of panic. So while the trauma is rising to the surface, the dark matrix is physically stabilizing your nervous system.
So you don't spin out.
Right. You don't spin out.
And what are the starry flecks doing during all this?
Simultaneously, those bright iridescent flecks illuminate the spiritual lessons that are hidden within that past pain.
Interesting.
It speaks directly to the limbic system in your brain. Like when a person is locked in a state of hypervigilance, say, their amygdala is totally overactive and treating every loud noise or weird look from a boss as a life or death threat, the stone steps in.
It neutralizes that threat response.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It systematically deactivates the body's trauma loops. The flecks inject a steady pulse of reassurance, essentially telling your nervous system, the threat has passed, you are contained, you are safe.
That is fascinating. By providing that safe container, it helps dismantle the victim archetype. Because you aren't stuck in a reaction loop anymore, it forces you to confront where you are actively choosing to give your personal power away. Rob's field notes actually refer to Galaxite as the executive stone.
I noticed that. It's a really great title for it.
Right. He calls it that because it takes all that scattered mental chatter, all that helplessness, and just replaces it with a steady, iron-willed focus.
Yeah.
It helps you rebuild your personal sovereignty from the ground up. It even drops down into those deep subconscious developmental layers to help reparent the inner child, totally dismantling outdated childhood survival scripts that just no longer serve you.
But reclaiming that emotional sovereignty is really only half the battle.
Oh, for sure.
Once you stabilize your emotions, you have to protect that newly stabilized energy field. Otherwise, you're just going to get drained all over again.
Right.
Galaxite is highly regarded in these texts for eradicating codependency and severing toxic energetic cords.
Okay, so if it's severing these toxic psychological cords, what is actually happening to the subtle energy body?
That's a great question.
Is there a tangible biological or energetic shift when you use it? Because the text gets really specific here. It mentions purging things called etheric encystments.
Yes, it does.
Now, encystments sounds incredibly medical. Are we talking about literal physical cysts in the body, or is this purely a metaphor for emotional baggage?
It's an energetic mechanism that often precedes physical symptoms.
Okay.
Within our subtle energy body, we have nadis. These are the thousands of energetic channels that carry life force.
Right, like meridians.
Exactly. When we have unresolved emotional crises, or when we are on the receiving end of a toxic person's projections, that energy doesn't just evaporate, it solidifies.
Yikes.
Yeah, it creates dense pockets of stagnant, congested energy in the channels.
Right.
Those are etheric encystments.
And I imagine that congestion leads to the chronic fatigue so many people feel today.
Absolutely. It's like sludge in an engine.
That's a great way to put it.
Galaxite's dense microcrystalline vibration acts almost like a laser beam. It slices through the hardened outer shell of these energy cysts. And then, because it contains magnetite, which is naturally magnetic, it literally pulls that toxic energetic debris out of your system and grounds it down into the earth to be neutralized.
Wow. And by clearing out that sludge, the text says it restores the symmetrical spin of the toroidal biofield.
Yes, the toroidal biofield.
Let me make sure I'm visualizing this correctly.
Sure.
The toroidal biofield is the continuous electromagnetic loop of vital life force, right? It flows up the center axis of your body, out through the top of your head, and loops all the way around your aura to re-enter at your feet. Almost like the shape of a donut or an apple.
That is the exact geometry of it, yes.
Okay, good.
When we're chronically stressed or absorbing everyone else's panic, that field slows down or sometimes completely collapses. Galaxite forces the energy to pump efficiently along those vertical pathways, reinflating the aura back to its natural, expansive shape.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the text also mentions it functions as an extraordinary etheric sealant. If you are an empath or just a highly sensitive person, your aura is often overly porous. You basically have these microtears.
Which means your valuable personal energy is constantly leaking out, while the collective anxiety of everyone around you is just seeping in.
Right. So think about it like a submarine.
Okay.
If a sensitive person's aura is like the hull of a submarine that is slowly cracking under the immense crushing pressure of the deep sea being the chaotic world around us, obviously Galaxite isn't just pumping the water out.
Right.
It is acting as an emergency heavy-duty sealant. It systematically welds those microtears shut so the hull can withstand the pressure again.
That is a brilliant way to visualize the structural containment we discussed earlier. It fortifies the boundary so the pressure outside cannot crush the ecosystem inside.
And it doesn't just stop at emotional pressure. Because of its high silica content and metallic inclusions, the text claims it acts as an EMF filter against 5G, Wi-Fi, and tech pollution.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Rob's notes actually called Galaxite a surge protector for the soul.
A surge protector for the soul. I love that so much.
It's very accurate. I mean, we exist in an invisible ocean of artificial electromagnetic frequencies right now.
You really do.
Our ancestors didn't have to deal with this. These are jagged, artificial waveforms that literally lock our nervous systems into a state of chronic, low-level stress.
Which explains so much of the modern anxiety we feel.
Exactly. The microlabradorite glass structure in Galaxite absorbs those chaotic artificial frequencies, while the metallic magnetite and ilmenite instantly ground them into the earth.
That's incredible.
It essentially acts as a personal Faraday cage, preventing technological static from distorting your biological rhythms.
It's just phenomenal. So you've excavated the trauma, your submarine hull is sealed shut, and you are shielded from all this environmental and digital static.
Yep.
According to the text, once your physical and energetic containers are perfectly secured, you are finally equipped to do the real spiritual heavy lifting without burning out.
Yes. The structural containment allows for safe expansion. The sources outline how Galaxite creates a massive vertical alignment, and it actually starts all the way down at something called the Earth Star chakra.
Right, the Vasundhara. Let's define that, because a lot of people only know the 7 main chakras in the physical body.
Good point. The Earth Star chakra is located about 6 to 12 inches beneath the soles of your feet.
So it's not even in your physical body.
Exactly. It isn't in your physical body. It's your energetic anchor into the planet's crystalline matrix. It actually holds your karmic blueprint. Galaxite acts like a volcanic anchor bolt, locking your energy directly into the tectonic bedrock of the planet.
So it secures you downward first.
Downward first, always. From there, it pumps rich, grounding earth energy up into the root chakra at the base of the spine, the Muladhara, which transforms basic survival fears into unyielding personal authority.
And once that base is secure, it builds a high-speed vertical column of light all the way up through the body, out the third eye, and up into the crown chakra at the top of the head, the Sahasrara. The text explains that this allows you to download very high vibrational stellar codes or cosmic insights, but you don't get lost in them.
Exactly. Because it immediately channels that high-frequency data straight down that central axis, so it locks into that Earth Star hard drive beneath your feet.
Wow.
It creates a completely unbroken circuit.
Which prevents a person from becoming what the sources call top-heavy, where you have too much spiritual anxiety and you feel spacey and ungrounded, or bottom-heavy, where you are totally bogged down by material stress and survival fears.
Right.
You are perfectly balanced between the two.
And this specific vertical alignment is absolutely crucial for safely navigating extreme spiritual evolution. In fact, Galaxite is highly regarded as a mandatory companion for anyone going through the dark night of the soul.
That terrifying phase of spiritual crisis where your old identity, your belief systems, and all your ego attachments just completely collapse.
Yes. When everything you thought you knew falls apart, Galaxite provides the structural containment to survive the collapse without losing your mind.
So what does this all mean for how we approach spirituality as a whole? Is this stone inherently anti-escapism?
I would say so, yes.
Because the text talks a lot about shadow integration and safely regulating Kundalini fire up the central channel. It sounds like it actively stops you from just floating away into spiritual bliss or checking out of reality altogether.
It does, emphatically. And this is perhaps its most important function. The text points out that Galaxite actively prevents spiritual bypass.
Spiritual bypass being the tendency to use meditation, positive vibes, or, astral flight to completely avoid dealing with the dense, painful realities of earthly lessons.
Exactly. Toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Galaxite will not allow you to do that. It enforces what the sources refer to as holy humility. It destroys the spiritual ego.
Wow.
It proves to the seeker that true, profound enlightenment isn't about escaping your physical body to hang out in the astral planes.
Right. Enlightenment isn't an exit strategy.
Beautifully said. It's about bringing absolute presence, love, and radical integrity into the densest, most difficult, most painful corners of your daily human life.
That is so profound.
Rob calls it the great connector for this exact reason. It forces your highest spiritual ideals and your messy daily life into one unified alignment.
The sources even go as far as saying it aids in ancestral liberation.
Oh, yes.
It acts as an energetic scalpel to sever unhealed karmic debts and repeating generational curses from your family tree. You honor where you came from, but you sever the chains.
Exactly.
It's incredibly powerful stuff. But with all this high-level metaphysical theory, we need to know how to actually use this thing.
You do. We definitely need to talk about application.
How does the listener actually utilize this spiritual multi-tool in everyday life? The text outlines some very specific rituals and rules. Let's start with the workplace shield.
The workplace shield is incredibly practical. The text suggests taking a polished sphere of Galaxite and placing it between yourself and your office door, or directly next to your computer monitor.
Just right there on the desk.
Yep. By doing this, you are programming its microcrystalline matrix to actively filter environmental static. It absorbs the office drama, the subtle aggressions, and it de-escalates your own stress before a high-stakes meeting.
I love the idea of just having a silent bodyguard sitting on the desk.
It really is.
And then there's the nighttime starfield ritual. This is for people dealing with severe insomnia or trauma dreams.
A very common issue when processing trauma, unfortunately.
Right. So the ritual is you purify the stone and you anchor it in your non-dominant receptive palm.
Mm-hmm.
Then you intentionally visually project all the frantic, mental static, and shadow elements of your day down your arm and into the dark matrix of the stone. You literally hand the burden over to the Galaxite. Then you place it under your pillow.
And by placing it under the pillow, it locks a protective containing field around your sleep space.
Which is so important.
It absorbs the internal trauma loops and blocks out the collective astral noise so you can actually rest.
It's so active, you're not just passively meditating with it, you are energetically doing the work.
Exactly.
This is also true for the cord severing protocol. If you are dealing with a toxic relational dynamic, you don't just hold the stone. You are supposed to find a piece with sharp, reflective Schiller facets, visualize the thick, energetic cords connecting that toxic person to your solar plexus, and use the stone in a decisive downward sweeping motion to literally slice through those hooks.
The downward motion is key there, by the way, driving the severed energy straight into the earth.
Exactly. And speaking of containment, there's the property grid.
Oh, this one is great.
You take 4 cleansed stones and bury them at the cardinal corners of your home or apartment property line. You visualize an impenetrable perimeter wall of starfire connecting them. You could literally grid your entire apartment by hiding these stones in the 4 corners to create an impenetrable boundary against your neighbor's chaotic energy.
This raises an important question, though, regarding how we interact with these stones physically. Which brings us to the safety protocols.
Yes, this is huge.
We cannot skip this. The text is very explicit, particularly about the gem essence protocol.
Yes, the warnings. This is crucial for anyone who likes to make crystal elixirs to drink.
Because Galaxite is a complex feldspar that contains trace amounts of aluminum, iron, and those metallic inclusions of magnetite, it must never be placed directly in drinking water.
It's literally toxic.
It is toxic to consume those minerals.
Right. So if you want to make an elixir to drink for physical vitality, you cannot just drop the rock in your water bottle. You have to use what they call the indirect method.
Correct. You put the Galaxite inside a sealed, completely dry glass vial. Then you place that sealed vial into a larger bowl of spring water.
So the stone never touches the water.
Never. You let the sunlight or moonlight transfer the energetic signature through the glass barrier into the water.
It's such a vital reminder. You cannot just throw any crystal into your water and hope for the best. True energetic mastery requires respecting the actual physical chemistry of the stone.
It demands respect. It's a reminder that we are dealing with real, physical, earthly materials, not just abstract, floaty spiritual concepts.
Which brings us perfectly back to where we started.
It really does.
As we bring this deep dive into our sources to a close, it is abundantly clear that Galaxite is an uncompromising ally. It is a cosmic anchor.
Definitely.
It's an emotional excavator, an etheric sealant, and a spiritual surge protector. But most importantly, it is a stone that demands you stand firmly in reality.
It truly offers a blueprint for absolute sovereignty.
Yeah.
Whether you are just trying to survive a toxic corporate office environment, whether you are actively severing an old, draining relationship cord, or you are navigating a profound, terrifying spiritual crisis, this stone provides the structural containment and the iron-willed focus needed to rebuild your life.
It doesn't just pat you on the back and tell you everything is going to be okay. It stabilizes your nervous system, hands you the tools, and helps you stand up to do the actual work.
Yeah.
And it leaves us with something really profound to think about as you go about your day. If a simple stone, formed by extreme subterranean pressure and geological chaos millions of years ago, can teach us how to perfectly harmonize our deepest, darkest shadows with our highest, most brilliant light, what other ignored, ordinary fragments of the natural world are quietly waiting right outside your door, ready to show you how to become fully human.